Well, after the servants and I had rolled the stone for the tomb into its groove, I took a deep breath. I was so grateful that we had accomplished our task, and also thankful that I'd been of a little help to my Master Jesus. Discouragement, though, set in soon after. With Jesus dead, I began to realize my greatest hope in life was crushed and shattered. Neither the woman or I had wanted to say it out loud, but we all were realizing it was time to move on, end this chapter, and count our losses. Just hours later, as I was sitting in silence, a knock was heard at my door. Who could that be, I thought, as I got up to see. Well, a small band of temple guards showed me orders written by Caiaphas's own hand. They were sent to guard the tomb for the next 3 days. They were also commanded to tell no one the reason why. What could the Sanhedrin still be so worried about even after his death, I wondered. I was more than just curious, though. I was also upset, to say the least. This was an intrusion into the privacy and the dignity of my master. Well, after a restless night's sleep, I went quickly to the temple area, found a temple guard that was also a trusted friend. He told me that the leaders of the Sanhedrin had visited Pilate and himself just hours after I had done so on Friday. He was also quick to point out the obvious, that in doing so, these religious leaders and Torah experts were breaking their own purity law. They made themselves unclean for the Sabbath, but didn't seem to care. Well, once again, it seemed that the threat of the Nazarene continued to lead our leaders to compromise their convictions about keeping God's law, even after he was dead. Well, my friend went on. He said that the Sanhedrin leaders had requested that a guard be posted, and this is an unusual and unprecedented request. And the reasoning went something like this. We don't believe that Jesus will rise in 3 days like he predicted, but consider, if his disciples were to come and steal his body, they could lead our gullible people and crowds to believe that he had risen. And that deception might be enough to incite the crowds to even greater disruption than they were last week. Pilate doesn't want that to happen, and neither do we. Well, their plotting and scheming and determination to regain full control of their power, even now, was unrelenting. I was disgusted to even be associated with them. My friend, the temple guard, went on with his story. Apparently, the religious leaders knew where Pilate was vulnerable and got their wish granted. With permission now granted by the Roman authority itself, they were free to put the last installment of their scheming into motion. One of their spies reported to them where Jesus' body had been taken, and their dispatch of soldiers was sent then to my burial site. No one would be allowed to enter the area day or night. The orders were strict. Well, so now I knew their motive, but I could do nothing to speed up their departure from my property and their guarding of the Master's body. The very next day on Sunday, the women returned early and found the Jewish guards there. But of course, they found much more. Nobody had been allowed to enter the area of the grave, but the stone, some point during the night, had been quietly rolled away by the angels, and our Master had risen from his tomb, risen from the dead. Well, the plan and the plot became clearer still of this greater story. If the guards had not been posted, they truly could have challenged the integrity of the news that Jesus had risen. And so what Caiaphas had chosen as a means to once and all put an end to the story of Jesus, God wove into his plan to bear witness the truth that everything now was made new. Yes, his Son had risen indeed. And so in the end, even the posting of the guard was no accident, but an ironic last straw for the scheming of the Sanhedrin.